What a game it was. Now listen, the conversation this morning is strictly around the Chiefs and the refs. That's all it's going to be.
Again?
Is the NFL rigging games for the Chiefs? Everyone on the internet thinks so. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we call out lies, hypocrisy, corruption, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters because truth conquers. But you can't conquer anything unless you're strong. Luckily, here to help us get stronger is Nature's Multivitamin, grass-fed beef liver from Ancestral Supplements. I take it every day because low energy, poor mood, no mental focus are my number one enemies. I think it's time to get strong and healthy again. Get your grass-fed beef liver at ancestralsupplements.com/JPReacts. Use code JPReacts for 15% off. Let's get into it. Now, I don't follow football anymore. I used to, but my Twitter feed and what I'm seeing on the internet, I can't help but see all these accusations that the NFL is rigging games for the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, their poster boy, Travis Kelce, and his poster fake girlfriend, Taylor Swift. Is that good for the ratings? I don't know, but I'm glad we have the good ratings. So is the NFL rigging games? Because right now, you don't hear a conversation about football, which I'm glad. I don't find football inherently interesting. I sure as heck find it interesting, the conversation around, are they rigging games? Because I'll tell you this, I have an allergy to lies and corruption, whether it's coming from the government, big pharma, or potentially the NFL. For example, you don't hear conversations about football anymore. You hear things like this.
I think, listen, let's be honest, okay? There's always been point shaving, mob gambling. It's always been, and all sports have always been like that. But I think we're going into like an unprecedented time of that on all sports or whatever. So I'm not just singling them out. I don't care about that.
And probably the most popular sports broadcaster in the world, Pat McAfee, can't help but talk about it. Take a look.
Whenever it comes down to it. Now, they're saying that the refs are helping them.
Whoa.
They're saying that they're cheating. They're saying that the NFL wants Taylor Swift in another Super Bowl and Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, the little golden child of the NFL, to win every single game.
Now, I don't think Pat McAfee buys into the idea that the NFL's rigged, but this controversy is big enough that him, the most popular broadcaster, he can't help but to address it. Could the NFL be rigged? Consider this. The NFL and its 32 teams, it has a combined valuation of $190 billion. In other words, big money industry. Have you ever heard of a big money industry that was not infiltrated by corruption? It happens to every industry. So to think that it could not happen to the NFL is just plain ignorance. Well, no, it happens in every other multi-billion-dollar industry. Big tech, big pharma, military industrial complex, the government. But it could never happen to the NFL. They're just there for the spirit of the game. No, they're there for the $190 billion valuation, I'll tell you that. But unlike the NBA, whose viewership is down about 50% over the past 10 years, people are just flocking away from the NBA. The NFL has great viewership. My sources show me, which is ChatGPT, that from 2023 to 2024 season, the NFL's viewership was down 2.2%. Not really that big of a deal. They still had 70 of the 100 most popular shows on TV. So slight drop in viewership. Does that warrant devious minds around the NFL to say we got to start rigging games? It could, maybe. Maybe not. You might think, well, they're doing really good business. They wouldn't need to rig it to make it better. Again, I think it'd be ignorant to say that would be impossible. That'd be like Pfizer saying like, dude, you know what? We're doing pretty good. We don't need to do any better. No, they're all about, well, how do we rig this thing? Can we get complete immunity on this? Okay, we can? Cool. What do we do to the doctors? Oh, we'll just advertise on television. That will be the only one of 2 countries in the world that does it. That'll help us rig this thing more in our favor, because enough is never enough, especially when corruption infiltrates big industries. Now, in a second, we'll look at some of the evidence that people are routinely pointed to showing the NFL is rigging games, specifically typically in the Chiefs' favor. And at the end of that, I'll give my concluding opinion if I think the NFL is rigging games or not. As of now, I'm saying, of course, it's possible for them to do that. There's no motive. No, money is the motive in any big industry that has corruption, which is every industry at one time or another. So we'll get to if I think it is actually happening in the NFL now. But first, out of any controversy comes humor. So floating around the internet are just funny memes about the NFL rigging games. Here you see President Trump signing an executive order. No more rigged games for the Chiefs. Babylon Bee has been getting while the getting's good. Roger Goodell brushes off concerns about biased officiating as he's in a Chiefs uniform. And of course, meme of a ref comforting Patrick Mahomes, I got you, buddy. And this is how some people are depicting how NFL refs dress now. Literally in a Chiefs uniform. Babylon Bee, once again, NFL to provide all refs with seeing eye dogs. And another refs are blind kind of thing. The refs, after getting the Chiefs back to the Super Bowl once again. We did it, guys. I think we should cut to Kamala. We did it, Joe.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Well, you're not in office anymore. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, let me tell you about NMN from Black Forest. It's a supplement known to dramatically improve health and longevity by serving as a precursor to NAD. Not too long ago, Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist who everybody loves, he has great information. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast explaining how the pharmaceutical industry is trying to take NMN away from us because it's so effective.
We were talking, I think last time we spoke about supplementation as it relates to, metabolic pathways. And one thing I've been tracking pretty closely is this whole, the NMN thing has now taken a
I was going to bring it up
direction.
before we wrap this up. So let's explain NMN for people. It's a precursor for NAD+.
Right. NAD is critical to energy production in all cells, vital. And levels of NAD tend to go down as we age. It's an absolute requirement for cellular health and life. You need it. Some years ago, as David Sinclair came on this podcast and discussed that his laboratory is a tenured professor of genetics, Harvard Medical School, and other laboratories were starting to explore stimulating the NAD pathway as a tool for extending lifespan. You can't just take NAD, or you can, but it doesn't get into cells very easily. There are basically two ways that you can tickle this pathway, increase NAD. One is to take NMN. NMN could soon be a prescription drug that you can only get with a prescription. And then I think Metro International Biotech will likely hold the patent. I will say with NMN, a couple of things happened. First of all, energy, my recovery from workouts, much better. I had to take it early day because it was giving me a lot of energy. I did notice my hair and nails growing at a ridiculous rate. And then I came off it just as a control experiment, slowed down again. So it was really interesting. I think there's something there in cellular growth pathways.
Interesting.
I've been taking NMN for over a year, and I know it does boost my energy. It helps me recover from workouts. And on top of that, I love the anti-aging longevity aspect of it as well. So my recommendation, get NMN now while you can before they try to patent it and resell it as a prescription drug that's massively expensive. And Black Forest has an exclusive offer for you. If you go to the link in the description or the pinned comment below, for the next 48 hours only, when you buy 2 bottles, you get 1 free. Stock up now while you can. Again, it's NMN. Buy 2 bottles, get 1 free for the next 48 hours at blackforestsupplements.com/JP. Grab yours to feel better, get more energy, and help your cellular repair to keep you healthy. Now back to the video. And Babylon Bee playing the other side of this too. Chiefs accused of rigging games by playing better than the other teams. Now what people are saying is evidence of Chiefs games being rigged. There's countless pieces of it out there. Let's go through just a couple together. And typically what it'll have to do with is the refs not calling penalties on the Chiefs and calling a lot of penalties against whoever the Chiefs are playing and giving Chiefs favorable spots of the ball, favorable calls, and just the opposite for the opposing teams. Now, here you'll see a penalty called against the opposing team for roughing the passer.
Look at this bullshit roughing the passer penalty on precious Patrick Mahomes. Here we go, 3rd and 8, the drive is over, he threw a horrible pass, a clean hit on Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not an NFL trained referee. Is that roughing the passer? The guy was about 2 inches from the quarterback when the quarterback released the ball. Where I come from, that's not roughing the passer. But that's just one call in a sea of many. Let's take a look at some more.
3-yard field goal from here. Drops it. Flag is thrown though. Flag will...
So the fun part of that is as the play started, the ref at the top of the screen called the play dead. The play kind of continues. The Raiders fumble, Chiefs recover. They gave the ball to the Chiefs. What happened to the ref calling the play dead? No, we're not going to really count his whistle anymore. Now what you're about to see is what's called a complete pass for the Chiefs. And in the replay, you'll see the ball hit the ground, making you think is an incomplete pass.
9 seconds on the game clock.
I want to see, there's the hand. The white glove has to have possession of that. So right there, he doesn't get the left, and that ball hits.
So hitting the ground before you have possession. And by the way, you could say, this happens so fast. Yeah, but they stop the game every 3.5 seconds so the refs can watch instant replay in slow motion to presumably get as many calls accurately. We'll hear what the Chiefs owner has to say directly to this refs are rigging the games for the Chiefs controversy in just a second. But first, let me say this. I haven't seen proof. I don't think there's proof that the NFL is rigging games for the Chiefs. I said earlier, is it possible? I think you're a nut job to say it's not possible. $190 billion industry, and I guarantee there's better ratings if there's certain teams doing better in the playoffs, getting to the Super Bowl. Man, Taylor Swift seems to be better for the Super Bowl. It's absolutely possible, but have I seen proof that convinces me it is happening? I absolutely have not. Now, you can find any game, you'll see calls that you like, you'll see calls from the refs that you don't like. And right now, I guarantee that this is at play. I'm not saying this is the only thing at play. Maybe it is rigged and I just don't see the proof. But I guarantee something that is at play as the world is talking about it's the NFL rigging game for the Chiefs. We're seeing a lot of confirmation bias, which means you see what you're looking for. So you can go to the Chiefs games and let's say the average NFL game has 11 questionable calls. You probably don't see those 11 questionable calls in all the other games, but when you're looking for the Chiefs and questionable calls from the refs, you're gonna see every single questionable call. So there is no question there's confirmation bias going on. If you use that to convince yourself that that's proof of anything, you fooled yourself. You have to see the confirmation bias, see what that points to, but not be fooled by the confirmation bias itself. While I would say I'm not convinced that NFL is rigging games whatsoever, I do think it's possible. Probably every single athlete in the NFL, they work their butt off, they're in peak condition, they dedicate their whole lives to being specimens and the best in the world at what they do. Same with the coaches. If there is rigging, I would guess none of them are in on it. It's probably, if it happens, allegedly happens, I would suspect it comes from some of the guys wearing suits, making deals behind closed doors. You know what I mean. Nonetheless, here's what Kansas City Chiefs owner had to say about the controversy.
It's just sort of human nature, right? Our family was lucky enough to be involved with the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s when they had their 2 3-peats. And there were a lot of similar comments made about the team always getting the call that the league was rigged for Jordan, which of course was absolute nonsense.
I like that evidence that he points to, the idea that it'd be nonsense for this to happen in the NFL because back in Michael Jordan's day, people were saying the NBA was rigged in Michael Jordan's favor, and that was complete nonsense. Cut to headlines like this, referee says 2002 NBA playoff was rigged, and there's a specific referee, I believe Tim Donahue, who has been caught rigging NBA games. So I would dare say it's maybe not the best look for the Kansas City Chiefs owner to reference the NBA as evidence that, yeah, people say it about the NBA, but that's nonsense, so this is nonsense too. It's like, no, the rigging provably happened in the NBA, so that kind of makes this look a little more murky, doesn't it? Is the NFL rigging games? I'll tell you, I sure hope so. It would make football more interesting to me. I find the hypocrisy, lies, the potential of that far more interesting than sitting down and watching for 3 hours a game of people out there living their dreams while I sit on my butt on the couch. Nah, I'm glad they're out there living their dreams. I just, instead of watching them live their dreams, I'd rather go out and live my dreams as well. So it certainly could happen. It's a $190 billion industry. We know the NFL, they covered up concussion knowledge before it came to the light of day. So, provable track record of corruption. There's just, it's kind of about the money, at least in part. With that said, let me know what you think. Is NFL rigging games for the Chiefs? Love to hear your opinion, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video. But until then, stay free.